open sea. Here we have the palette. I guess we better look at the palette, getting so inspired here. The colors, the water is 1/2 red. Oh no, let's say it this way. 2 phthalo blue, 1 red, and 1 ochre. That'd be easier. That's a nice dark mixture. The distant water is equal parts of black and green and ochre and white. Isn't that nice? Here's the eye of the wave, ochre and white, and a touch of the water that we just put in there. Ochre and white and a touch of this water. The sky is very similar, but it has more white. Ochre and white, and you add a little green. Then up in the corner of the sky, I sort of did it here. I put a little phthalo blue in it. I might even use some straight phthalo blue that will give me a little darker corner. Look at this nice misty sky. Ooh, lower sky, red and white. The clouds, red and white with a little blue. Sun area, orange and white. Coming down to row 3. This is the balcony. Up in the balcony, yellow and white, foam lights. The cloud by the sun will be blue and white with a little alizarin crimson. And then over here, just as kind of bit players, our supernumeraries, we have rose and violet. That sounds like girls, doesn't it? We better call this and George white. Okay, here's the brushes. Brushes, we have the bunny brush. Step forward as you're introduced, please. The fan brush. The twiggy brush, you can stay out there. Sable brush. Another fan brush. What's the difference between those two? Nothing. That one is short handle, long handle. And the mop brush, and then the knife. Okay, those are the brushes. We're ready to go up to the canvas. I did go ahead and put a little acrylic on. Well, let's say this. The whole canvas was covered with a little golden brown acrylic. And then additionally, I put some blue and black down in the water area so that when I put the foam patterns on, you'll see a real nice foam pattern. We'll start down in the water. That's a good place to start. So we'll take the sable brush, and I used a little medium. This is taking the watercolor, phthalo blue, and half as much red, half as much ochre. Now the thing about this, it's going to be so close to what's already here that why am I putting this on? Just to have a little wetness underneath here so when the eye blends into it. But I don't want very much so that I can put on nice dry foam patterns. A little bit there. I'll have a little bit underneath where the big foam will be so that the foam will have something to blend into. So that's another reason for doing this. And then over here where we'll have kind of a secondary eye, what about in the back? A little bit there because we're going to have a little eye out there. You understand what I'm talking about when I say an eye? That's the thin part of the wave. You see the light coming through. Call it eye. Some call it a window, but I like calling it the eye. Let's go ahead then with our water that will make a little difference in color. This is a distant water, which is equal black, green, ochre, yellow ochre. Is that ochre or ochre? It's one of the two. Okay, and white. Black, green, and ochre, equal parts. Add white. I'm using this sort of dry brush. There might be a little juice on the brush left over from cleaning it. There was a phantom sailing vessel out there, which is now gone. You're going to push this around with the brush. See, I said dry brush. I do that so that some of the underneath will be uncovered. It's a little more easily left uncovered if we do it with the dry brush. Push that around. Let's take the paper towel and just wipe a little bit to further have the underneath play through. The dark green was a little too dark, and this gives nice quality to the paint. That's excellent because it's like a glaze. It really is like a glaze when you just push a little bit of this across. And out to the horizon. We'll come into here, come over to here, and there. I'm even putting some of this down on top of the blue. Boy, that's a nice relationship. That was a popular color, well, it still is, kind of blue-black. I've seen shirts, they have that, and that looks good. You know, you think about people who do all the colors for shirts and clothes and that, they have inspiration, don't they? How do they know? Who knows what colors are now in? As followers we can, but who sets the pace? I've never thought about that. Well, maybe we do. Maybe we should. Let's think about that. Eye of the wave. I'll change brushes. I'm going to come down to the mop brush, and I'm putting this on. This will also be dry brush because I'll just pat it on. Okay, up to the canvas. This is dry where I'm putting it, and then it'll blend into a little wet paint there. Boy, that sure makes a help when you put that color underneath when you're in a hurry anyway. But then put in a little bit of the wet paint makes it so we can blend in very well. See that? Isn't that nice? That green goes very well with the blue color too. Take a little bit, same thing, over to the left side and into that area. See, that's going right on top of the dark. Sometimes when you go on top of a dark, as we're doing, you may have to put a little more quantity where you want it to look lighter so the dark doesn't show through. See, that looks a little lighter than this. What about out on this one? The eye is right in there. Okay, I'll go ahead and put the foam on just so it can be setting up a little bit before we come with the any foam patterns or highlights on that. Okay, here's a fan brush. Fan brush is coming. Where's my foam? You know, I don't think I put any foam out there. Shame on me. Okay, well, let's take this. This is white. And we'll take some of the watercolor. Gee, this is great. Right on camera. Now you know that I mixed these colors. It wasn't the little Jennifer in the back room doing it for me, you know. I did it. Was this all right, Jennifer? Was that the right color? Okay, come on. Get in there. Buck up to the branch. Boom, right in here. Splash that up. And we're splashing this pretty good, which means above what's there. Using a dry brush, come across into that eye a little bit so it's not rigid around there anymore. Come down, splash around. In this case, what I left there was almost even in width. So I have to take do you see this brush? You come from the ranks of the brushes over, boom, right into there. And we'll come up and put this just as a little bit of an eraser so I can keep that grace that's going there. Okay, this splashes around. And remember also, I put some of the wet paint down there so that this will soften into it. It's very subtle, but you know that it's there because I told you so. That's why. Splash this around, splash up there. Now that's a nice color against the blue too. They're the same family because I did use this color and white to make that. Splash up in the corner, and then we'll go out to the back wave. We have same color. Splash over here. We get a little larger wave. I better wait about splashing up there because I have to put the sky in, and that would be just in the way. Okay, wait a while. You wait for inspiration. Okay, now the rest of these come on. And then a little teeny distant one. There, I believe we have it. While I have the paint on the brush, let's just clean the paint off the brush, and that gives some nice little swells and reflections from the sky. So you feel like the water, you're out in the open sea, and it's really moving. Is that somebody I know over there? Gosh, I've got a big audience here today. They didn't have room for them all. We had to actually keep some out in the hall. Okay, let's go to the sky. We're going to take bunny brush, little medium, and this is a sky color, yellow ochre and white with the green added. Similar to the eye, but you have a little bit more white in it. Oh, look at that. Okay, ready to go? Don't wait for inspiration. Let's go up there. Boom. This is going to go on the middle of the sky. I'll push this around quite a lot because I want this most of the sky, and then we'll put the other paint kind of into it, you know, wet into wet nature. I seem to love that term, wet into wet. It's a kind of a magic ring to it, doesn't it? But you're still letting some of the underneath show through. You can see how faintly I've put the paint on this side. This takes quite a bit, so you have to run in and get that medium and push it up there. Okay, we're going to town. If you guys, you know, if you can't see real well, you at home, just move up a little closer. You can see? Okay, all right, we'll go on. The same color now. Soften into the horizon as you push across where the water and the sky meet. If you do it kind of horizontally, then it softens. And out in the open sea, you don't have to be perfectly straight. So you're allowing for some distant swells. That's big moving water. And I like that feeling. So we don't have to have the ruler straight horizon. Look how much of the vitality is there because of what's underneath showing through a little bit. Okay, let's put this on. Gee, it always seems like we have such an opportunity to do new things. You plan these a certain way, and then you get the little incidental things that help, and you do that. It's great. It's inspiration. And you know, you receive inspiration as you paint. Gosh, I'll tell you, you'd be surprised. Some things you're ready to do something, and then it's almost like somebody takes your brush and puts it in another place. That's a great feeling once you learn how to paint. And how do you get to that point? Study. Study with the best. Study with the best can be watching them do it on TV. It can be reading about great artists. You get inspired about how they did it, their dedication and so on. There's many ways. So use them all. Look at paintings in museums. That'll help too. And try to make ones like it. What do I want? Okay, this is the middle of the sky. Orange and white. This would be kind of around the sun area with still the bunny brush, dry brush. We'll put this in right there. This is going to be a little lower sun. The sun's going to be quite low, so you have clouds going in different directions. I'll show you that very soon on how we establish a pattern for the clouds to give a large sky feeling. Isn't that pretty? That color looks good against the green, and it also looks good against what's showing through. Boy, I like that. I think I'll take some of this and run up there so that we have a little bit of the silver lining before we even have a cloud in. Doesn't it? It just makes you want to run. Don't leave, though. Don't leave. It makes you want to run and do it. But you can wait a minute. You'll remember. I think this brush is losing some of its hair. It's not only the brush that's losing some of its hair. But you know, I remember when I was born, they said that I was born bald, and I just want to be born again. Okay, let's put on, this is pink. Lower sky, red and white. Red and white. Bunny brush, dry brush. This will go right around in here. Isn't that a pretty compliment to that color? It's a juxtaposition, which feels very good as it goes next to each other. Mitzi, this is your color, isn't it? Uh-huh. Ooh, look at that. Now let's take some of that color and go a little higher. Same thing, we'll just push this around up in the sky. Gee, that's so much fun. That's a luminous color. Who are you? You're Rose. No, it's red and white. Sorry, Rose, you still over there. It's Rose. It isn't either, it's red. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of the color that's on the brush, the red, and just sneak it down ever so little bit. Look at what it does in the trough area. Isn't that nice behind there? And what about down below? Sure, why not? Take a little bit of this. Now remember, this is very dry, so if you're going to go down there, you better not be too light. Well, you're okay, as long as you stay a little bit away from the shadow of what the wave causing a shadow. You can't be too close. Okay, we'll go back to the sky. Sometimes you just jump around once you get a color. And for instance, I put it in the sky, and to have harmony in the water, you put it down there too. So it's so hard to stay just in one area and finish that and then come down to the next, especially when you're inspired. And that's what we need to be. But you paint however you want. If you want to do it the other way too, that's all right. I'm not saying it's wrong. What do I need? I need to have my clouds. Where are my clouds? Oh, I think we need to put some of this clouds in. Here's the clouds, a little violet. Ooh, look at that color. Gee, that's nice. I'm pushing a little bit into the foam color just to soften it before it goes up. Actually, I can even push down here and see how it's going to look up there. It's going to look fine. Okay, here we go. Now watch these on the clouds. I want to have so they kind of go away so you get the big feeling of a little bit of perspective. Look at that go. Each of these are in a different position now, and what I mean by that, these are closer to us, so these will be softened. And if anything, I'll go ahead and darken the top one because I seem to be not changing the value much. What's the matter with you, brush? You roll up? Okay, let's go over here. If you needed to soften further, you could just take some of the pink color, which I did quickly without you seeing it, and push in and soften down below. Okay, I'll do the same thing as I go in here. Just soften it a little bit to what's there. Watch the angles. We'll come over here a little. Still, now on this side, we're still using the same color, but it angles up this way slightly. Using the same color, Go over to the left side slightly. See the nice movement? It gives such an expansion of color, doesn't it? It's such expansion of the sky. Okay, we'll take that and then I'll blend. I think I will just take and blend a little bit. I have another off-camera bunny brush, and we'll use this because it's clean. There we go. Soften up a little bit at the top. You know what I forgot to do at the top was to round in the corners with the blue. So let's see, here's the blue that is phthalo blue. It's going to put in just a little bit of the green. I soften it on the palette before I come up to the sky. Up into the corner there. That's better. I saw the same green all the way. It wasn't getting that big round feeling. Come over to the left side. I'm assuming that left side means left side to you too. Okay. There we are. And now we come back down. We're going to make a strong light in there that we will have before we put a cloud in. And this is yellow and white. I'm going to use a knife. There's my knife, yellow and white. Pretty good load of paint. Put it on right in there. See, isn't that quantity? Ooh. We'll come down to the horizon with same thing, same color, same knife. And let's go a little bit above this. This is all kind of broadly applied. And then we'll take a big brush, which is the bunny brush, and feather it out a little bit. Like that. Brush back and forth. There's still a generous chunk there. I'll use a knife on it to flatten it in just a minute. Okay, here's the just a minute. When you do this now, a slight slant, I'm exaggerating, but just a slight slant, and you're just barely touching that. Ooh. And it looks very intense. Okay, let's come down with the foam patterns. And when we put the foam patterns on, this will be selecting some of the color that correlates with the sky. Let's take, here we have violet and a little bit of the gray. See that color? That's a nice one. We'll use some of that, and we'll also use some of the red and white with the blue. This will come down on this side. And remember how I said we have the dry canvas underneath, so these stand out quite well. I'm running just back to the same color, so I go kind of fast and picking it up from the palette. That looks good there. We need to put more over on the other side. We'll take same brush, same rush. These are things that you would do a little more carefully with the time that you have. Instead of a few minutes, you take an hour if you need to, but you do it. They're such an important part of an ocean. They give a feeling of movement. They help you show composition. And what else? They're the previous wave, so they're anatomically correct. You want to put in, when you're putting in foam patterns, you're putting in clouds, rocks, trees. Capital V is the word to remember, variety. When it's a lot of the same things, then you need variety. Variety will be on different sizes, different endings, and I don't know what else. But anyway, that's some of the things that you consider. Okay, we'll take and blend those just a little bit because they do come out a little stringy and look like a net unless you give them a little character softening. Just a little starting with a little spank on the bottom, and they go right into living, don't they? Okay, that looks fine. We need some on the second wave. And let's try a different color here. This is red and white with just a little blue. And this is a color that kind of correlates a little bit to the color that's up in the sky too. So you can have several colors from the sky being shown. And before we leave with this color, we'll change brushes, but I'll put some of this color on the foam. I will take and wipe out just a little bit of the foam so that I have room for two colors to go on. See, even wiping this out, you have a warmth that comes through there. See that nice warmth that comes through the foam? You can do that, and then you really make use of having, why put on a prime if you're not going to use it? We're using it. That's why we have it on. Okay, we'll use fan brush. And this is the color, let's see. Let's come over here to the red and white, which was at the lower part of the sky. Dry brush. Splash this in sort of a secondary area. The lightest light's going to go right above it, but this will be what the lightest light will blend into. I think it's so neat. Isn't it great to have friends that love you and you love them too? That's a lot of help in your receiving inspiration. You have friends that will say, oh, you can do it. I don't feel like I can do it today. You can do it. Yeah, sure, I can do it. I love what was the story about, or a poem, what was it, about the little train that was going along? I've changed the story. It's not the little train that says, I think I can, I think I can. It's the little train that says, I know I can, I know I can. I knew I could, I knew I could, I knew I could. Or, I know you can, I know you can. I knew you could, I knew you could. Okay, what are we doing here? We're doing something, we're going over the hill, right? Okay. Splash up into the sky now because you have done the sky. Pink comes across here. We might even take a little swing of this with the paint and put down below slightly in there. I like that. That's a nice start of a highlight there, isn't it? Okay, let's go then to Santa Claus time. Let's bring out the toys. This is going to be with the yellow and white. This is yellow and white. We used this earlier for the sun. We put it on with a knife. Now we'll use the fan brush and we'll sort of pat it on. I pat the full brush, but when I go up there I might use it on the side for a while and then use the other side. So I like to have it filled. Come with me. Boom, 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 boom. Straight line. How are we doing in the sun? That's almost in the middle. It's just a little right in the middle. Since we buried they at sea, we can do what we will do. This will stay more at the top because I want to have a real strong feeling of impact there. Right in there. I'll pull this down a little bit. You can make this look like running water by the stroke. See how that looks like running water? We didn't put any dark in there this time, but we used the light to be our running water. Now, after it hits, it splashes up again a little bit. And this is again a little bit. Right in there. I'll take some of this and come to the back one. Right in the path of the sun would be the lightest one. A little bit over in here. And what else? We need to blend that a little bit with a bunny brush. Soften it. Notice there was a little pink or, a little purple on that brush. That just helps blend in with some additional colors. Splash this down. I sort of feel this is a little sharp, so I'll just push this down a little lower. It makes just a little bit more grace in it, doesn't it? A little bit more grace there. Splash this up. And I need to put a little bit of foam highlights. I'll do that with a knife. Here's the knife. Snow plow. We got several people from Minnesota here. Did you know that? That's why we get the old snow plow feeling. Okay, this will come down in the sparkle area where it just comes up a little bit and the sun hits it. Do-do-do-do. We have time to do this. We're also going to soften that a little bit. Then let's take just a little touch of our light. We use the mop brush again. Mop brush with the same yellow and white. I better clean the brush, excuse me. Went out to lunch. Here's the yellow and white. It's a mop brush.